That was certainly unexpected, to say the least. I don't I don't know. It's hard to know where to start. Where
Well, I'm going to jump in and start with the fact that if we have to miss, or if I have to miss, or you have, well, the first segment of a game because of fake golf,
wait. That's where you want to
I,
start?
I'm starting there. If I have to miss the beginning of a game because of fake golf where they're hitting a ball into a screen and they're celebrating about their shot and I need you to tell me, all right, here's what's happening, and I'm listening through your phone in order to get it because I can't get it in New York. I knew right then and there was something going to be a little strange about this game. However, I
No.
think I thought, look, let's face it. Saturday's game, I got right. I said we're going to win by, 5. We won by 7. This is our show. I got this one completely wrong. I thought we'd blow them out by 30. I kept saying it, and I was so wrong about this game. But all right, Jack, over to you.
I I mean, that would have been where I started, but in fairness, what a bizarre game. I definitely feel like I aged rapidly, especially in the first half. And then I thought we were, multiple times, I thought we were going to just
We got it.
cruise. We're good. We got this. And then just didn't. And I think, all right, before we go through the game, actually, let's go through the game, and then we'll talk about some of the more bizarre things in a basketball game in a second. So the game starts out. Well, first off, for those who didn't get a chance to see, to JD's point here, the game starts out pretty slowly. NC State's up 5-4. You don't miss a ton in the first segment for you guys who weren't able to watch. And then NC State just starts draining threes. Like they hit more threes today, certainly than their last 2 games combined, maybe their last 3 games combined. Let me give a shout out to, where are my notes here? All right, give a shout out to Trey Parker, who had 15 points today. He averages 3. It was a career high for Trey Parker. He celebrated all of them. He had the 3 over his face, kind of like the Jalen Brunson thing. He was doing the
Yeah,
too small on Sion James. He had himself a day. Also, Dontrez Styles, who actually he has had some good games in the past. It wasn't quite out of nowhere like a Trey Parker. But I think this game was, for on the Duke side of things, it was Con Knipple in the first half, and then obviously it was the Cooper Flag show in the second half. But the first half, I want to talk about a little bit more before we go to the second half, because that's certainly where I couldn't really believe what I was watching. I knew NC State could play some of their best basketball because, let's face it, this was one of their biggest games of the year. They're 9-10. They're 2-6 coming into this game in conference. They had nothing to lose, and they certainly played like a team that had nothing to lose. But I just couldn't believe how poorly Duke was playing on both sides of the ball for most of the first half.
Well, and let's put a fine point on that. With 3:04 to go in the first half, it's NC State 35, Duke 22, after Styles had just drilled another three-pointer. So we're down 13 with 3 minutes to go.
And I guess back it up a little bit, because there was a moment where it was 23-11 NC State. Coach Shire has to call timeout. Duke comes out, flag, bucket, Proctor DeCon 3. Sion gets a steal. Just quick 7-0 run.
K2 got a 3
I
in
just
that
said that.
stretch.
I just said that. I know it's late. I'm not. It's okay.
All right, fine.
All right, we'll move on. 7-0
So
run.
it looked like they may have closed it because they got to 23-19.
Yes, exactly. And at that point, you're starting to think, okay, Duke's got momentum. NC State had to call timeout. It's like, all right, here we go, guys. And then to your point, a minute ago, NC State takes the lead out. Dontrez Styles hits that three, and what were they up by? 12? NC
13.
State 13. And it's like, what is going on?
And at that point, Duke had shot 1 for 12. They went on another one of those things where they couldn't find the basket. I got it. Of all the shout outs, the coach for NC State,
Mr. Keats.
He coached a very good game. His timeouts absolutely disrupted the flow. He just my hat goes off to him. Well, along with everybody at NC State just shooting, I average 3 points a game. I'm going to go for 15. Yeah, stop. What did Styles average? 12 or something? 13?
He averages 9.
9. And what did he finish with?
I mean, Styles was awesome. He had 18 points, 4 3-pointers.
And the only thing was when he got to 4 fouls, Coop got him to foul out, I think, in the second half.
And he could have fouled out a little bit earlier. I know, the NC State bench, there was a few times they were up in arms, especially the play with like 5 minutes to go where Huntley Hatfield pushes Sion James, but then he tripped over Gillis's leg. But then, a few minutes before that, there was a no call when Dontrez Styles yanked on the jersey of Cooper Flagg, and no foul called there. So all that to say is that I think the refs today, again, were, I guess, consistently bad on both sides. I thought both coaches had a bunch of gripes. The refs in the ACC play have really left a lot to be desired, and I'm going to leave it at that.
All right, so the first half finishes with NC State 37-33 because Duke goes on yet another run.
It was a 7-0 run to close the first half, which was really important because it put, NC State had been up, as you said, as much as 13. They had spent some time in up double figures, and to erase that lead, you could tell how important it was because Coach Keats was losing his mind on the sideline with every play towards the end of the first half, how important it was for NC State to keep a big lead going into halftime, and they were not able to do it. It was a timely 3-point play by Sion James near the end of that first half, which cut it to a 4-point lead and gave Duke some life heading into the second half.
Okay, so then we come into the second half, and we watch as Duke goes on an 8-0 run. So they've
12.
Well, okay, so
12. It got up to 12.
All right, because it was they erased the 13-point lead, and then had gone up. I had the most. Actually, they did. They went up 45-39 after Flagg was fouled with about 13 minutes to go. NC State couldn't find the basket.
They could not. It took NC State until under the 14-minute mark in the second half to score, which if you include some time late in the first half, it's probably somewhere in the 7 to 8 minute mark where they didn't score. So both teams had some lengthy droughts in this game. Both teams, I thought, especially in the half court, played good defense. You got to give some credit to NC State's half court defense today, which did a good job. And when they didn't turn the ball over and were able to set up in the half court, especially in the first half, Duke really struggled to score against a set NC State defense.
All right. So there we are. We could pick it up anywhere you want, but it's 49-45. We're maintaining the 4-point lead. It's 10:31 to go. And then I think Hill hits a bucket. It's 49-47. We respond, flag foul, but it's 51-47. And then I think it's Parker who hits the three. And then all of a sudden it's a 1-point game again. And they were going to stay in this game for quite a while until all of the craziest things that I've ever seen in a basketball game.
Before we get there, Cooper after that three had I know he does something you haven't seen pretty much every game now, but he had a stretch where it was I forget the exact move, but he hits a three-pointer off the dribble, which turns into a 4-point play, a response to Trey Parker's three. And then he gets the ball in the transition, puts it behind his back to avoid a defender, then gets the ball into the NC State half of the court, goes behind the back again, loses the ball a little bit, but retains it, pulls up mid-range, 57-50, another timeout by Coach Keats. My only personal problem with Coach Keats' timeouts is he kept taking them a few seconds before the TV timeout. So it just lengthened the game. But to your point, it was good coaching because it meant that it disrupted the flow. And so that there would be a timeout, and then 40 seconds later, you get another break of the action, which was good for NC State and kind of kept them. It broke up Duke's rhythm and prevented them from really getting out and taking a bigger lead. But Trey Parker again responds down the stretch, hits another bucket, and it was Duke 59-57 with 6 minutes to go. Coach Shire, I believe, called a timeout at that point, and Duke runs a nice out-of-timeout play where Sion James, as Corey Alexander said, sets a ghost screen. Two guys kind of go in the direction of Con Knipple. Cooper sees it. Easy dunk for Sion James, up by 4. And again, you start to feel like, okay, now Duke's going to, get some separation. And it just didn't happen until, I guess you get to the end of the game. Duke ends. Go ahead.
Well, it's you do think it's going to happen, but it's, as you said, 63-62. It's still a 1-point game with 4:38 to go. And it's right around that point that we have the first most bizarre thing I've ever seen in a basketball game.
All right, let me just ask you this: when you saw what happened, and for those of you who didn't watch the game, I don't want to say this, but if this is strictly for those of you who didn't watch the game. Kaman Malawach, unfortunately, was sick on the court. And I just want to ask you this, because watching it live, when it happened and I saw what happened at first, I was like, man, he must have really took a shot to the stomach. Like, that must have been because the broadcast was saying, oh, the foul wasn't on Styles on flag. It was Malawach and I think it was Huntley Hatfield. So I was like, wow, he must have took a tough shot, to the stomach or maybe even the nether regions. But then they show the replay and he wasn't touched, and I'll leave the rest to you.
Well, yes, I've never seen a player upchuck on the basketball court. I don't know if you remember the moment there when they came back from the timeout. There must have been over 30 towels on the court. They were spraying the court. They were doing everything to clean up the court. And then on the replay, you saw it. No one touched him. Now, that brings to mind something else. Look, maybe he had a stomach bug. Maybe something happened. We hope he's okay. Maybe he was playing sick. And, it'll take a couple of days or Coach Shire's doing the post game right now, and he's explaining, kind of. I've never seen that. I've just never seen. Not since I probably coached you in Little League. When you were 8 years old, did I see someone throw up on a sports field that way? I'm sure during.
The only thing I was gonna say, the only time I've seen it in sports is football. A few times, I more than a few times, a bunch of times. I've never seen that in a basketball game.
Well, and in football, everyone knows I love The Replacements. It's one of those great football movies where they had to move the whole huddle over because a guy threw up in the huddle. But yes, all right, maybe in real life as opposed to movie life.
I guess just quickly before we move on, as you said, I hope Kama Malawach is okay. I hope it's a stomach bug that he was kind of dealing with or something to that nature, because not to look too far ahead, we'll have plenty of time to do so, but the game against North Carolina is coming up this Saturday, and one of the big advantages that Duke had on paper going into that game was their centers. North Carolina has really struggled at that position this year, and Duke, at least a few weeks ago, had one of the, as far as I'm concerned, one of the best center pairings in the country. And now there's a chance neither one of those guys is available for that game. But then, I don't know, a few minutes later,
barely. It's
in real time. I'm not saying court time. Real time. A few minutes later.
Right. One of the things I want to give Cooper Flagg, we're going to shower praise on him later for how he carried us at the end of the game.
Sure did.
But after that, and they clean up everything, he has to go to the free throw line. He was shooting 2. Hit them both. I mean, the presence of mind to just slow things on that one.
I thought he was 1 for 2, but I'm double checking. You can keep talking.
Oh, Styles.
You're right. He hit them both. You're right.
Hit them both. I know that pains you, but every so often I do have it right.
You can get 1 out of 10,
Yeah, all right.
I was wrong.
Okay, so he hits it. Then there's a shot clock violation on Duke, and in court time from the 4:38 mark to the 3:49 mark, the 3:30 mark. The next most bizarre thing occurs that I've never. I'm sure it's happened, but I haven't seen it.
More than that, I'll take it a step further. I am confident that has actually happened at a Duke game in the past handful of years. I don't remember which game, can't say that, but I am fairly confident. I hope the Duke student is okay. I hope everything is all right. But this is actually.
Let's explain what happened. All of a sudden, security was at midcourt.
Well, I guess in fairness, we really don't know. We just saw the camera kind of pan over to the Duke student section, and you see security, as you just mentioned, like standing around. And then 40 seconds later, they show it seemed to be a Duke student like being carried off like pretty quickly towards, I'm guessing, the locker room or someplace where they could get medical attention. So hopefully everything's okay with her. Everything's okay with Mr. Malawach. It's just, I've never, for both of those things to happen within 5 minutes in a game in which there was already a lot of unusual things happening for the NC State side. And then that's not it. There's one more thing which I think I have never seen before. I've never seen before. And I'm curious if I'm sure you caught this. So it was actually a pretty big play.
Oh my
Ty,
goodness. Never seen it. I know what you're referring to.
Tyrese
I've never
Proctor
seen it.
gets a big rebound. He is falling out of bounds. He's got 1 foot in bounds. His momentum, his balance, he's leaning out of bounds. It's like you're watching it in slow motion. It's a matter of time.
So he's got 1 foot on inbounds, and the other foot is he's leaning in, goes up in the air.
Up
so
in
there's
the air.
like, what is he gonna do?
And you can see it like slowly. He's starting to lean out of bounds. And what you don't see, I didn't see it in real time, but what you see in the replay is Con Knipple making one of the most heads-up plays of all time. And I'm going to say that because I've never seen that before in my life. He grabs the foot of Tyrese Proctor that's hanging in the air and keeps him in bounds. It's, in a very different way. It kind of is like, what are they calling it? The brotherly push of the Eagles, because we're, in playoff football mode right now, where you have a teammate kind of bail you out or make the play happen, and Con Knipple will not get credit on a box score for saving a possession for Duke, but it was an awesome play. No stat.
There's no stat for this. In which case, after he did it, I was like, it flashed in my head. I go, is that legal? I mean,
right.
Can you stop? Right. Can you stop a player from going out of bounds by holding him? And I who knows? No one seemed to object, and everyone credited him for a heads-up play. But honestly, is that legal? Can another player stop you from falling out of bounds, and therefore, so Karen Malowich throws up. The young woman passes out. We're hoping both of them are, healthy and okay, and that something bad doesn't happen. By the way, it almost looked like the security guard was holding her, just like getting her out of there. It was no time for bringing in a stretcher maybe or something to help her. They just got her out of there so that the game could continue. And then this bizarre play where Proctor, is falling out of bounds, and K2 grabs his leg.
What a play. What presence of mind for Mr. Knipple to do that. The only other play, which was not bizarre, but the only other play I want to highlight before we get to, Cooper Flag praise and Con Knipple and, the medals for today and the chat, was at the end of the game. It wasn't necessarily a game-winning bucket, but it felt like the nail in the coffin, the proverbial nail in the coffin. Cooper Flag rolling down the lane, finds Patrick Gangba when two guys, both NC State big men, converged onto Cooper, and Gangba, that's the finish. When you teach your big guys, that's exactly what you teach them to do. He kept the ball high. He never brought it down low, and he's like smooth one motion. It's the area of his game where he's certainly better than Malowich at this point. And he didn't necessarily have a big game stats wise. I think that gave him 4 points for the day, but what a timely bucket and what a big moment for Mr. Gangba, who spent most of the year watching from the bench, but these past couple of games has provided Duke with big minutes from the center spot.
And I have them, it's funny, I have them at the 8:20 mark going into the zone, and then maybe with everything going on, I lost track of it again, because then at the 3:30 mark, they went into the zone and absolutely again befuddled NC State as they did on Saturday.
I think part of it, especially the second instance, was that Styles wasn't on the court, and he gave them a lot more spacing versus they went to the two big lineup with Huntley, Hatfield, and Middlebrooks, and they don't have the 3-point shooting when those two guys are there together. I mean, in general, they don't have 3-point shooting other than today, or tonight, I should say. But what a second half by Cooper Flagg. I mean, the guy, I don't know what adjectives I want to use today to describe Cooper Flagg, but he is so consistent for a freshman, and it was needed again for him. Let's pull up the stats. He finished with 28.
Jack finished with 28, had 5 points in the first half. He had 23 points in the second half, which is otherworldly. And he was doing, he even gave us a little dessert with that dunk, which again was one of those moments where I thought, okay, we've got it. And it was starting to, peel away from NC State at that point. But that was nice of Cooper to give that. I thought he was almost winding up to give us a second. But.
And 11 from 13 from the free throw line. He just lives in attack mode. I don't know how else to put it.
Jack, and when you just stay with the free throw line, because I think that was clearly one of the keys. What did Duke shoot as a team from the free throw line?
24 of 28. And
two of them came at the end with both Konkanippel and Cooper went 1 for 2. I mean,
Proctor also went 1 for 2 as well.
Yeah, so it was. Yeah, Proctor 1 for 2, at Coop 1 for 2. Those were the two, not K2. So they both go 1 for 2 at the end. They were otherworldly again from the free throw line, which I think saved them in this game.
I mean, that's the difference. And if you're listen, if you're an NC State fan, that's what you're pointing to in terms of you're going to say the refs cost them the game, because you're going to look at the box score and you're going to say both teams shot about the same number of threes, 22 for NC State. They shot 40 let's round up, 46%, 10 of 22. They're like a below 30% shooting team in conference. Just crazy. Duke shot 4 of 20. I'll take that because I think we're going to shoot much better against North Carolina. Now that we won the game. If we lost, it would be a very different story.
Yeah, but on the other hand, the way this is going, UNC will come in and
they'll right.
Some guy I never heard of will come off the bench and hit 5 threes or something,
With that being said, I want to go into the medals for today, and then
if you would just quickly take us through Duke's stats.
Okay, Konkanippel, who until about 6 minutes into the second half, he was gonna be my gold medal today. I should have done this earlier in the video. I was critical of Khan's performance, especially in the second half against Wake Forest. I thought he was really good today. And especially so in the first half when Duke was struggling. He was the only guy really playing well. He had 19 points. He had 6 rebounds and 3 steals. He was just really, really good today. Gave Duke great minutes. Mr. Malawach had 4 points, a pair of blocks, and 8 rebounds. I don't know how many minutes he played. Let's see.
And one of Malawach's blocks was emphatic highlight reel because the player thought he had gotten around, and then all of a sudden this arm goes up and goes, "Get out of here!" Yeah, it was just a great block.
Proctor, another something I got wrong. I thought he would respond with a better shooting performance. Partially, he just didn't get many attempts today. 1 for 6 from the field, 0 for 2 from 3, 4 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. Sion James was in attack mode today. He was scoring in the paint. 13 points for Sion, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Not much bench production. Mason Gillis, only 2 points today, but they did credit him with 3 blocks, which is kind of surprised to me. I can't remember one. Do you remember one?
I don't remember one, but then if he got 3 blocks and Mal got 2 blocks, how many blocks did they credit us with?
That's weird.
Coop had one brilliant one.
He did. Okay, I don't think he had any blocks. I think for whatever reason it showed up. I think it was an error on the site when I took it, because now it's showing up as Duke with 3 blocks in total. I don't know why it got populated under Mason Gillis. Probably ESPN budget cuts. That's what I'm going to blame that on. Okay. Gangba, our leading scorer off the bench today, 4 points. Evans didn't play very many minutes, so it's hard to really grade him. Foster played he played more than Evans. I will say, I was very critical of Foster for not shooting the 3. He only had 1 field goal attempt today, but I did like how he was aggressive attacking the basket in his 1 attempt. Was it the best shot? Probably not, but I like the mentality, because that is the one thing that I think Foster does really well on this Duke team is, attack the basket. So I like that he did that at the very least.
So I'm going to also say that while it's possible the NC State fans will look at the free throws and suggest it wasn't fair, the refs, whatever. But I'm going to say that Wake Forest and NC State have found this, and it worked for most of the game, bringing this physicality to Duke. And and they're certainly doing it to flag. They're like saying, fine, if you want to shoot free throws, but we're going to hit you. We're going to do everything we can to break up your rhythm. And I think that we're going to find out if that is something that teams have discovered. We'll watch the UNC game Saturday, but I wonder if that is not intentional to say, well, we get that you're like one of the best, if not the best player in college basketball, but we're going to slow you down and we're going to hit you.
When you're outmatched from a talent perspective, it's one of the ways you can go about it. I would say when you're outmatched from a shooting perspective, but that was not the case tonight. For whatever reason, we were in bizarro land, and it was NC State was the great three-point shooting team, and Duke couldn't buy one from outside, which makes the 10-point win even more impressive. Before I jump to the medals for today, I want to go through the chat. Feel free to stop me at any point as I read through the chat here if you want to make any comments. So we've got Zach Caldwell. That game took some lives from me. I agree.
Me too.
I agree.
Me too.
Our boy, Lawrence Freeman. Talk about NC State having an outer body experience in our building. No one, what's the word I'm looking for, epitomizes that more than Trey Parker, who had the best game of his life, certainly of his college career. I don't know about his high school career, but certainly of his college career. He was everywhere for NC State. If you would have told me without knowing their stats, he was their leading scorer coming into today, I would have believed you. And to find, he averages 3 points. All right. Great game, Trey Parker. You were awesome. Lawrence also says the state of NC North Carolina revenge tour is rolling along. 2 down, 2 to go. I agree, but the only thing I will say is, I mean, Wake Forest I knew was going to be a battle, but this game I thought we could. I mean, I didn't think we'd win by as much as you thought, JD, but I thought we would win handily, and boy, oh boy, that was wrong. Good performance from NC State. Good performance from Coach Keats. And our last comment, Bryant Johnson Bay. I honestly think that it makes the coach look bad when his team only plays their heart out one game out of the year so far. They've lost 7 out of 8 games, shaking my head. The one thing I do have to disagree with that a bit here, because NC State, you look at they've lost 5 in a row. I guess 5 in a row, and as he said, 7 of 8, but their losses, 3-point loss at Virginia, 8-point loss at Wake Forest, 2-point loss to North Carolina, 3-point loss to Virginia Tech, 3-point loss to Cal, 6-point loss to SMU, and the 10-point loss today looks much worse than it really was. It was a much closer game, and they had a 13-point lead. So I think their record now is 9-11 and 2-7, but I think that's misleading of the team that they've been overall. And I think, Coach Keats, a few of those games go a different way, and you're looking at the team probably a bit differently than they're sitting right now. So I think he's had a little bit of tough luck as well.
Well, and also given the losses of the personnel from last year's team, it was a lot to recover from their Final Four run. I just want to quickly go through my predictions because I love to proudly show or state in our shows when I'm wrong. So I had I said a 30-point beatdown, had that wrong. Expect an offensive explosion from us, had that wrong. It was another Cooper Flag explosion. Well, actually K2 shot well, but we needed all those points. I thought Gillis's minutes would rise, but actually Gillis and Sion James traded off, and I thought Sion had just a terrific, very physical game for Sion. I appreciated all of his minutes on the court. Did get valuable minutes again from Patrick Gamba, though there was a period there where he looked a little soft, but then when we needed him, he was there. And I said that Shire will send the message to have 2 complete halves of basketball in our building. And I could not have been more wrong. So I certainly will thump my chest when I'm right, but take my licks when I'm wrong.
I do have the minutes now. I'll just go through it quickly. I'll just highlight the more important ones. So Cooper played 37. Khan played 35. Sion played 34. Proctor 33. Malawach played 27 minutes, which is a high number for him. Maybe that has something to do.
I was wondering that because there are times when he is out there that he absolutely looks winded. And I wonder, but we'll wait to see what actually happens.
Yeah, that'll be a good one to hear from Coach Shire because I'm sure he's going to be asked. The bench, Mason Gillis had the most minutes off the bench, 16. Gangba had 8. To your point, I remember that stretch. He was struggling with Middlebrooks, and then they took him out. Foster had 7, and Evans had 3. Again, with Evans, I just feel like you can't judge him when he's only playing 3 minutes. Even Foster, I think it's once you get below 10, it's hard to really criticize anybody. With that being said, though, let's move into medals.
All right, Jack. Who's your gold medal tonight?
This is the easiest medals I've done in several games. Gold medal, as I said, I thought was going to be Con Knipple, and then Cooper Flag took over, and there's no doubt 28 points and 23 of those in the second half
The
when Duke
second
needed
half.
all of them. He had 23 of Duke's 41 in the second half. Con Knipple,
Silver?
certainly Con Knipple. He ended up shooting really not great, 5 for 15 from the field, 3 of 10 from 3. But for me, it's not always about the stats. It's why I left him off the podium last game, even though he was the second leading scorer for Duke. I thought his energy, I thought his poise, and I thought his aggressive shot making, especially in the first half when Duke really needed it, was key for Duke to get this win. They don't win this game. I know they don't win this game without Cooper Flagg, but they also don't win this game without Con Knipple. And the Bronx, Sion James, he was great. On both ends of the court, he played his physical bully ball, scoring inside. He also, I don't know if you caught this, but Coach Shire made an adjustment. Once they went to the two big lineup, they posted up Huntley Hatfield on Flagg. It led to a Cooper Flagg foul. Coach Shire said, we're not doing that again. He put Sion on Huntley Hatfield, and it wasn't the same. And Huntley Hatfield had to kick it out. And that is the value of Sion James, is that for short periods of time, he can guard, power forwards or even some centers. And you're not giving up much. And he was great in this game against NC State.
In a night that saw more unusual things that I've ever seen on a basketball court, in a night in which, if you look at the score and you didn't know anything about the game, Duke won by 10. And that would just not be the story of this game. It was clearly a game that they had a fight, and a lot of credit goes to NC State for several times seeing their lead evaporate, only to get back to, within the game. And so 10-point win. And yes, that running the table streak is still alive. It's 10 games in a row in the ACC, 18-2 overall. And so I think that probably does it for tonight, Jack.
Almost. There's two things I wanted to say. So one is because of how good Clemson and Louisville have been, Duke being undefeated so far in conference play has them only up one game in the conference standings. So that game with Clemson that I've been talking about for a while now, the magnitude seems to grow with each game. The other thing
Jack, that game is at Clemson?
At Clemson, yep.
Yeah, circle that one.
Certainly. And we've got North Carolina at Syracuse and then at Clemson. So if both teams keep winning, that could be the game that decides the ACC regular season. The other point I wanted to make before we close out the show, Duke had 10 turnovers today, which was actually good because Duke had 6 turnovers in the first handful of minutes and only finished with 10. But the bad was Duke only had 10 assists. We had a period of time where the ball was really moving. The offense seemed to find a flow. And I know the defense has been better the past couple of games, but we've got to find that ball movement again, figure out how to get everyone a little bit more involved offensively, and that will kind of, I think, ease the burden on Cooper Flagg because Cooper wants to win. I don't know if Cooper is setting out saying he's got to score 25 plus each game. So it's just what the team has needed of late. And with that being said, we will be back Thursday for the North Carolina preview, and that is going to be a lot of fun. Very excited for that matchup against North Carolina, where Duke continues their revenge tour, looking to get back on North Carolina, who beat Duke twice last season. So, again, looking for revenge. We will see you guys Thursday. Please like this video, subscribe, share it with a friend, leave a comment, and we'll see you then. Peace.